Have you ever experienced information overload when learning guitar? Oh man, I know I have. There are so many books, courses, YouTube videos, licks, scales, theory. It can be so overwhelming. But don't freak out. Today I'm going to show you how to deal with information overload and still make steady progress without being overwhelmed. When I was younger, I was always looking for that big aha moment, that one piece of information that would change my ordinary playing into something that was extraordinary. Each book I got, I was sure had the key to my understanding something in a new light that would change my playing entirely. Every once in a while there was a big moment, but not usually. But that was the 90s, and those were books. Today there's so much more out there. There's YouTube and other platforms. There's just so much information. It's so easy to get overwhelmed and waste your time. So here's a concrete way to stop the overload, avoid wasting time, and actually make steady progress with everything you practice. Now, I could go into a discussion of what are your guitar goals and how to align them with your practice schedule and all that stuff, but honestly, that's not how it works for me. I hear something cool on guitar and I'm like, yeah, I want to play like that myself. So here's an example of that for me and how to not get overwhelmed by it. First, let's hear what we're talking about. This is something I think sounds pretty cool, and I definitely would have been overwhelmed by it years ago. Now that would have definitely freaked me out back in the day, playing all over the neck and probably using some scales I didn't know. What I would have done back in the day would have been to buckle down and learn the solo, but to not really learn how to take anything away from it, because it just seemed overwhelming. So instead of just brute forcing the whole thing, what else could you do to make steady progress and not be overwhelmed? Instead of going directly to tab, one of the first things that you could do is to take a look at the chord structure. For example, here, if we take a look at it, this is just a blues in C. C is the 1 chord, or C7, F7 is the 4 chord, and G7 is the 5 chord. This is just a blues. And right away, that takes a lot of the scariness out of it and helps us calm down a bit. We already know a lot about the blues. Chances are you know the minor pentatonic, and you know that that'll work playing it over the blues. Here's an example of just playing the minor pentatonic over that same track. So there you go, that was all minor pentatonic, pretty basic stuff, and I kept it all to the first position except for a little bit in the second position. So that's the position of strength that I'm starting with. Now I can go in and I can learn the new thing that I'm working on, but I've got a twist to put on it, a little twist. So to get to that twist, let's look at that whole first solo I played slowly. Okay, now that we know that, here's the twist, the key idea. Now that solo had a few cool things about it, like maybe this lick right here. Or maybe this one. Or maybe this. And that might be in a different position. But what we're going to do, the twist, is to just take one and learn it well enough to incorporate it into your play. Let's use this one, the very first lick. Now we're going to ask two questions. The first question is, what was the chord being played when that lick was being played? The answer is a C7 chord. That's important because we're connecting the lick to a chord shape. Now if somebody calls out a blues in A, we can play that same lick easily. Just like that. The second question is kind of personal. Well, it's not that personal. It's just the question, how does this differ from what I already know? So for example, if you already know the C minor pentatonic, you'll note that in the lick, there's two notes that don't fit into the C minor pentatonic. There's this E, and there's also this A. It's right there. So that means you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. You can still use your C minor pentatonic, but you can add those notes into it. And it sounds great. So you see, it's really just a mindset. If you start from a position of strength, and then don't try and take on everything. Don't try and learn all the new information. Just take away one thing, but really take away, really learn it. You can make steady progress. And that progress feels great. If you want more of these tips and tricks to end your frustrations and start enjoying your guitar more, you can get my free improvement roadmap by clicking on the link below. It's a guide to what to work on as you progress with your guitar journey, and it's totally free, so why not? Click the link below, and I'll see you on down the road.